now we got to get sound. Right, let's have a look. Have we got sound and picture? I think we may have. Could you tell me, folks, do you have sound and picture? How are we looking out there? Waiting for a response, takes about 15 seconds. I'm hoping that this will work. And I will explain then what's gone wrong here tonight. Okay, well, so we got a thumbs up from Phyllis. Yes, from Linda, West Country Mudlarks. Yes, all good. Yeah, thanks goodness for that. You see, they leave me to my own devices here. They give me full control of this environment. They set me up and let me go. And I did the most natural thing in the world, which was when the countdown finished, I clicked the very top thing on the list, which says live. Of course, some of you know I am mildly dyslexic, so and I've got the sort of brain that doesn't see everything. I only see one thing at a time. So I see live, I click live. Next thing I know, I find out that underneath it is written this one for live. So obviously at some point the live feed failed and Tim created a new live feed for us, which he then called this one for live. So I was sat here thinking, there's nobody there. Or at least I was thinking, you're all there, but I'm not there. Because I could see all this chat and all these people saying, am I the only one looking at a black screen? I thought, no, I'm looking at a black screen as well. But I'm here. There we go. I've been running around like a crazy thing. But we've got vision, we've got volume, and we've got you, and you've got me. And we got the pandas. And as you can see, Panky is sporting. She decided she'd like to be in the blue along with Mankey. And she's sporting her new dress, which Caroline has been working on for her, because Caroline's trying to make up outfits for her now and having a go at that. So that's the first prototype of a new outfit for Panky, which she was also wearing in this week's video. So great to see you all here. I see there's been lots of discussion about the crowns. It's pointless asking me. I'm glad you're helping each other because I don't know what they're all about. They keep bringing in new things all the time. I notice every time I go to make a phone call, they've changed the look of the page for my phone. Anything I do, they seem to think they can improve it. But I'm one of those people who thinks, if it's working, don't change it. Now, I know I'm in a minority probably, but that's me. If it's working, why change it? And I think history tends to prove me right, because with all of our modern advances, I still reckon that a beautiful glass bottle beats a piece of plastic any day of the week. What's more, it doesn't rot and sit there just decaying and creating a problem. You can either recycle it or it'll be there for 1,000 years just as glass. It's a natural product. So there we go. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's me. But people keep doing it. They keep fixing things. They keep adding things. They're trying to make it more creative for people. So I hope you're enjoying it, because I'm seeing lots and lots of crowns and things coming up. There we go. Oh, Rachel thinks you look cute, Panky. There we go. There we go. Yes, you look cute as well, Manky. Don't worry. They're not. They're just... It's only because she's got a new dress. That's why she's getting the comments. Yes. Okay there, folks. Well, where do we start? That's a good question. You know, it's because we're going a month between now, then it can tend to be that I can't remember what I do next. But I do remember that I have to run all the way up through all of this chat, you chatty lot. Lovely to see you all talking to each other. That's great. Please remember, if you want to try and get my attention, ask a question or make a comment that you want me to try and respond to, then please use capitals, use rows of smiley faces, because I'll tend to miss it as it shoots past otherwise. So in this case, while some people think it's rude to use capitals, it looks like you're shouting. Well, shout, because it's the only way I'll know you're there. Okay, top of the tree, number one, first in tonight was Lexi B. Well done, Lexi, great to see you. Next to Lexi came Anne Goodwin, saying, "Hi Lexi." And then after Lexi replied, saying, "Hi Anne," we've got Bonnie Tyler fan 34. And Jason was coming a close fourth. But no prizes for close fourths, Jason, so you'll have to make a bit more effort in the quiz, because at the moment the girls have got it. It's going to Lexi, Anne and Bonnie Tyler fan 34. You've got 1, 2 and 3 on getting in first. But of course we've got several questions and in the quiz, so there'll be lots of chances to get in first again. I'm just scanning back down through now to make sure I didn't miss any capitals or anything. There we go. There is a short vid on my channel of Oscar trying to attack our cuckoo clock. And now it no longer coos. It just cooks, does it? It just goes cook, cook, and no coo. There we go. So there we go. If you want to see Oscar attacking a cuckoo clock, check out Lexi's channel. Then we've got lots of black screens. Oops, no pictures. So we're all right there. Got those messages. And right the way down to the bottom. There we go. Pick an echoey sound. Oh, I hope the sound isn't echoey now. I hope that's cleared for you, Anne. I didn't notice that one. I can see and hear now, Beata. That's great. There we go. Somebody clicked on the evil. There we go. There we go. There we go. I'm with you, Phil. Somebody agrees with me. That was Bonnie Tyler fan, I think. Agreeing probably with the fact if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yep. There you go. I'm Goodwin's echoing the same sentiment. Thank you, Rachel. If it ain't broke, find a plinth for it. Or if it is broke, find a plinth for it. After this week's video, there's nothing that can't be improved by a plinth. Although there is a move now amongst those who erect statues to public figures to take them off their plinths, put them down among the people rather than present them as elevated. So listen to a program on Radio 4 about it, and they were saying they want people to be inspired by the statues they put up, because they're not just putting up statues of people who happen to have been born to fame and glory, but most of the statues today are by merit, and there are far more statues going up now to women who have achieved things, because of course for a long time they were predominantly men. But they were saying they just want young people as they're growing up to feel that not that these people are high above them and in a position you can't reach, but one of them, which I thought was an interesting psychology. There we go. Oh, right. Oh, I will check that afterwards. Dorothy, I will check my emails. I've been doing the questions and everything today in between visiting family, so I haven't checked the emails, but I will check later, and hopefully now that email will have come through on the address I gave you. That'll be great. And then I'll be able to email you our postal address then. West Country Midler, my password is Dopey Sleepy and Doc and London. 3 characters and 1 capital. Very good, very good. Okay, I think that's everything checked on there. We've checked who's in. So, hope you enjoyed the video this week. As I say, because of the pressure on our time and the situation we find ourselves in currently, I'm just trying to create a video as best I can in order that we can keep the communication, but also rather than just rehash things, to try and pull things together from the past, but give them a narrative, and by working out of the shed, being able to share with you a few things and a few thoughts along the way. And as you say, this week we were doing the melted glass and broken things, and we were doing the kintsugi, which, so you can imagine tonight there will be questions related to melted glass perhaps, or maybe repairs of an oriental style. That could be quite likely, I would imagine. As I said yesterday, that one was a preformed perfect soap dish. You know, you're going to do nothing to it because it hasn't even got any sharp end on there, because it's a screw top. So we've got a nice rounded end. If it was a snap top, you'd have a problem, or if it'd been smashed off. But you could even get a cap to fit on there, see, and give it an end. Very good. So there we go. That's what we're doing this week. And hello, Lisa. And what I'll do now is, I think, having mentioned about the questions, we'll go straight in for a question. And I've got to have a look on you now and see if any... Oh, I think they have. I think they've given me a question jingle. That would be good. There we go. One question jingle. So let's get the questions started and see how you all do tonight. We're going to start with question number 1. A popular legend dates the creation of kintsugi in the 15th century, when the shogun, dissatisfied with the staple repair, commissioned the Japanese craftsman to find a more aesthetic method to make repairs in the future. So the shogun, he was a leader, a warrior. He was very unhappy because, of course, you will have seen probably where they did staple repairs to porcelain. And he just felt that the staple repair was almost taken away from the beauty rather than restoring it. So he wanted something done, and he asked them to please do something different. My question for you is, in that legend of the 15th century, what item had been broken? Was it A, a washing bowl, B, a fruit bowl, or C, a tea bowl? Go. Okay. What are you thinking? This is a story from the 15th century. It's a legend. It's where they say that... Now, we're not saying... We don't know if the legend is exactly true, but it does give you a time and place for when this all began to happen. And that was due to the 15th century. So the story originated in the 15th century. So it means it's been happening 500-600 years. And something broke. And when they presented it to him to use for its purpose, he wasn't very happy because the staple repair made it look as if it was no longer of value. So he wanted something that would enhance it rather than destroy it. And they came up with kintsugi. They came up with the idea of using gold in order to make the repair, to actually highlight the repair in a beautiful way, because the staples were highlighting the repair in a very negative way. But I want to know what the item was. Do you think the shogun had a broken washing bowl? That's A. A broken fruit bowl, that would be B. Or C would be a broken tea bowl. Right, let's have a look. Oh, well, we've definitely got a variety of answers because we've got A's, B's and C's. So we're definitely going to have a correct answer. Now then. Ooh. Right. Okay. The correct answer is C. It was a tea bowl. He was actually using it as part of the tea ceremony, and he just felt that he was not objecting to them repairing the porcelain because that's what they did. They didn't just throw things away. They were too valuable. But he felt that the repair was taken away from it, and he wanted something that would be more aesthetically pleasing. And they came up with this whole idea of celebrating the repair by using the gold and putting it together. And it was a tea bowl. So I'm going to give the first place to somebody who didn't say tea bowl and didn't say C, but said cup. So I think that was just a shortcut way of saying tea bowl. So Karen, you've got the gold position with cup. Then we're looking for the next C. We got a couple of B's from West Country Mudlarks and from Lexi B. And then we got a C from Beata. So Beata, you've got the silver. So it's Karen with the gold, Beata with the silver, and then we come down, 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 down. Oh, and we've got two C's very close together, but the first of them goes to Ribble Finds and Crafts. So there we go, and special mention to Rachel Remy, because a couple of A's after that, but you got a C as well, but you didn't quite get in there. So it's Karen, followed by Beata, followed by Ribble Finds and Crafts. You've got the first three podiums tonight, but there's lots more questions to come, and so lots more opportunities to get on the leaderboard. And as I say, just for your own fun, if you got that right, and I can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people got it right, 7 who got it right, who didn't get onto the leaderboard, but make a note that you got it right and see how many you can get right during the night. Because a bit like marathon running, you know, there are those who are in the marathon to win the marathon. But when you think there are tens of thousands of people running, and there's probably only 100 people there that think they've got a chance of getting in anywhere near first, because the rest are running not just for the sake of it, but against themselves. They're racing against the clock. The last time they ran a marathon, they did it in 7 hours. This time they're hoping to get a 6 in front and do it in less. So very often in life, it's not just about coming first, competing with others, being better than somebody else, but just having a bit of fun and improving on your own score. So that can be fun too. If it wasn't true, then why would there be all those thousands of people taking part in a marathon? I'm just going to have a drop of this. The thing is, now that I do all the talking, which I often get accused of, but today it's true, I am doing all the talking for this hour. I do need a little bit of refreshment just to keep myself going. Let's have a look. It wasn't the Practic bowls which got broken. No, it wasn't, Lexi, because Lexi mentioned in a comment yesterday that, like myself, she had a kit and they give you this beautiful little bowl and they say smash the bowl and put it back together. And then I thought, I'm not smashing that bowl, that's a jolly nice little bowl. And anyway, I'm not short of smashed things to put back together, not with the collection I've got. So like you, Lexi, I've still got my bowl. So there we go. There we are. Lisa's happy. Happy dance. Got one right. Well done, Lisa. That's brilliant. There we go. Yes, Ed. I'm sure you know on your own. I can run the length of a marathon. It's called a Snicker now. Yeah, our marathon bars with a peanut in every bite are now Snickers. There we go. Yeah, Karen's in the same boat. She says, near as I get as well, Ed. There we go. Okay, speaking of bowls, I've got a bowl here, actually. Look at this. As I say, just like the last time we were together, I've got a carrier bag full of finds in the garage that still haven't been cleaned up from our last trip to Yorkshire. So they've been there for months. And what I'm doing each week is cleaning up a few, so we've got a few finds to show. So these will have been on videos in the last 6 months, but have not made it down here. Possibly because we did a show but were away and couldn't do a live show or something like that. So they don't always get shown. So I thought rather than them just go through to the shed, I'd bring them on. So there we go, I'll show you this. Now this is like a chalk type material. There's no glaze to this whatsoever. Not sure exactly what it is. Somebody out there may know, but if you can see there's the ridges going down the ribs of it, which obviously will give it a little bit of strength, but also then the other way, running the other way, there are very fine lines. I don't know if I can get this. There you go. Now you can see it. Look at that. There's a lot of detail in the way that was pressed. and gives me the sense that it was made for a function, but because of that snap off end, I'm wondering if it was like part of a battery or something, or something like that, you know, whether it was more of an industrialist. Maybe it was a small bowl for use for mixing things in, you know, like the pestle thing, but I'm not sure. But it's definitely been given that sense of being reinforced by the way it's made, but it's not been made posh, because that's just like a snapped off punt on the bottom, and it's definitely got a sense that something's been in there which has discoloured the inside. Any ideas, folk? Has anybody else found one of these, seen one of these, or identify that? But it is a bowl, and as we say, very often prior to the idea of us drinking with handles and sticking our little finger out and everything else, the original tea ceremony would have been with a bowl, and it would have been held with two hands, and you would drink from it, which is why I suppose back in the day some people preferred to tip their tea into their saucer and drink it rather than drink it from the cup. It also cools it, I understand. But there we are. What do you think that is? It looks like bisque porcelain. Yeah, it's got that feeling to it. There's a tiny chip there. I don't know if you can pick up on that tiny chip and see a little more about how it's made. But it's not going to go clear for us on there, is it? There we go. See the chip at the top? It's very much a clay, isn't it? Just see through that top edge there, a sort of brownish clay, but an interesting piece, and for that reason it came home with us. Now I've got another here which is a modern take on the idea of the tea ceremony. It's a is it a crucible? That's the word I was looking for. Thank you so much, Karen. Yeah, when I was trying to think of, you know, the sort of thing you use in science when you warm things up in it and do stuff in it, that's what I was trying to think of. It was a crucible, possibly. Yes, that could be. And as I say, because it's definitely structured, given some sense of strength, but seems to be for a practical purpose rather than decorative. So all that, I believe, is on there to just give integrity to it for its purpose. Crucible, that is the word. Oh, I don't know if I'm on my own here, but do you ever find yourself thinking there is a word and I can't think what it is, and it just won't come to you, and then you see it and you think, ha ha, yeah. But that's the word I was thinking of when I described what it looks like. But like I say, whether or not it is strong enough for that, I don't know, because the sort of thing that you would put on a thing over a Bunsen burner, allow it to warm up, and then put things in there to melt. You know, that's what I was thinking of, that type of thing. Here we have the modern era, but this isn't as modern as some, when it comes to the tea ceremony, because the nearest thing we have to a tea ceremony, probably, other than those of us who have a Chinese teapot, and when I was living in Spain, like to sit on the roof of the villa and just pour my tea from my Chinese teapot. That was great fun. But I suppose the guys that really get to have a tea ceremony now tend to be workers with their mugs, and they enjoy a tea break. And here we've got a mug. Now when we picked this up, it was impossible to see if there was any pattern to it because it was so filthy. But we picked up a few finds and I put them in it, and I said take it home and give it a bit of a clean. And as you can see there on that side, actually it's picking up better on the camera than it is in the room, because even when I washed it, that was not easy. It has faded considerably, but you can see the horse and the rider, and you can see a child and a parent, and is that, there you go, there's an adult there and a child, and there's the rider. And then on the other side there's another scene, which I don't know how clear that will be on camera. But that's a scene of some folks there on that side as well. And of course you can see the handle is gone from there, and it's had a fair old whack on the base. But I can tell you, because I washed it and cleaned it, it still holds liquid. So therefore it could be useful as a brush pot, or even to stand pencils or something in. I've got I've got a cup that lost its handle, and I've got a tea bowl that never had a handle, and I use them both. I use the tea bowl for my cufflinks, and I use the cup with no handle for my loose change, and I keep them on my bedside cabinet. So some things do get a practical use. Don't know if that will. May end up down the shed with a stack of pipes perhaps stood up on end in it. That might look nice. I think I could put a pipe display in that, because my pipe cabinet is full and I've got pipes lying around the place here to sort out, although most of them are bowls rather than with any length of stem, and you need a fair length to go in there. But there we go. Thanks for your input on that, and I'll tell you what we'll do now. We'll have another question. That seems like a good plan. I'd lost this one for life. Things are so spaced out. I got to go down and I forgot to go back up. And I thought, I can't find this one for life. There we go. Are you ready? Fastest finger first. And we'll stick with the kintsugi for the moment, because kintsugi is closely linked to the philosophy of wabi-sabi. Now, if you want more information about this, as I said yesterday, check out Lexi's videos, because she did a video all about that. Wabi-sabi finds beauty in imperfection. And this can be traced back also to a legend. This legend comes from the 16th century. So the legend that brings us the concept of wabi-sabi comes from the 16th century. I want to ask you, where does the legend of wabi-sabi take place? Was it A, in a palace, B, in a garden, or C, in a humble home? Go. So there's a legend, and I'll tell you the legend in a moment. But I'm asking, it is set in a particular specific location. Do you think the location of the legend from the 16th century of wabi-sabi comes from A, a palace, or do you think it was set B, in a garden, or do you think it was set C, in a humble home? Where do you think the legend was set? Oh, right, answers are now coming in. Also noticed a few people liked the mug and commented on the ghostly appearance of the images. That's interesting, Rachel. Yeah, maybe a foot snapped off it. That is a possibility. Let's have a look. We found one, and our friend from the museum said that. It's a fluted bowl, so it's a fluted bowl. There we go. Thank you very much. Well, if that's from a friend in the museum, I think that probably makes a lot of sense. Right, let's have a look now. Oh, right. Well, we seem to have B's, C's and A's again. So whether it's in a palace, a garden or a humble home, somebody's going to get it right. And I can tell you that the very first answer in from Mr. Ed Creative, the man with a spanner from just down the road, is correct, because it was set in a garden. The legend is of a garden. And the second person to get B is Beata, and the third is Dan Fetters. And Dan, your timing was perfect, because you were the first of 5 in a row. because straight after Dan came Lexi, Ribble Fines, West Country Mudlarks, Rachel Ramey, all with Bs. But you pipped them to the post and took that third place. So bronze is with you, Dan. Beata, you've got the silver, and our friend Ed, you've got the gold. So, what was it all about? The story is quite simple. The legend says that the gardener was told to make the garden perfect. So he set about raking the garden, and he raked and he raked and he raked until it was totally perfect. Everything was smooth, everything was level, everything was right. And when he had finished, he went over to a blossom tree that was stood in the center, and he shook it. And the petals from the blossom floated down and just landed wherever they chose all over the newly raked garden. And that was a legend to try and teach the concept of perfection is not necessarily in complete control and order. That having that sense of age or that natural deviation can make something even more beautiful. So that was the story, and it was set in a garden. There we go. Rightio, what else have we got to show you? One of the things that I wanted to touch on is, when it comes to glass bottles, was the amount of bottles we find that tell us what they are. Now this has been around a while. This is quite an old bottle. It's got that aqua colour. It's got bubbles throughout it. But the other reason I know that it's been around a while is because the writing on it, although it is embossed, is fading. But we can still see on there Lung Tonic. And on the one side it tells us the company, and on the other side it tells us that Lung Tonic, this Lung Tonic, came from Hull. But it's very faded just because of the amount of wear that this has had. It has worn down the writing on the glass. Now, this one is much more clear and is one of my favourite scripts. I do love the way Boots did that script there. I think it's very nice and looks very good. Boots, the chemist. And I like that sort of sense of that status it gives itself by including the and underlining it. Not just Boots chemist, Boots the chemist. They were laying claim to their status. They were the chemist. There's lots of chemists around, but this was the chemist, and they used their bottles to send their message. But isn't that a lovely clear font on there? I love that one. And then of course, one of the things we find a lot of are bottles that tell us they contain sauce. This one is a little less common in the finds that we make, because this is flag sauce. Flag sauce. And very often it's one of the more common ones that we find rather than that, but that's flag sauce. So the concept of molten glass didn't just lend itself to shaping a bottle to make it something that was functional, but could also be pretty. But of course, in that single process of shaping the bottle, they could add information about the contents, which is very important, particularly if the item that you're creating is going to contain something that you wouldn't want to confuse with another product. You see, it's lovely to have, I'll just get this one down and show you. It's lovely to have your paper labels, but it's pretty rare to find a bottle with the paper label on, simply because the label gets lost. This label is quite a rare find. It's one of my favorites. It's quite clear. It's Lipton's coffee, and it's on. It's got the insignia of the royal house there because it was for the Queen. So this is going back to Victoria, had given the royal warrant. But as well as the label on the front with there's a label on the back, but then on the side they were still in the habit of putting the information. So there you've got it on there. It says Lipton's, London and Ceylon. There we go. Lipton's, London and Ceylon. So they were still, even with their labels, three-sided label, but still put in the company name and the place of origin on the bottle. So it meant that you didn't have to rely on the label staying on. If the bottle got wet, the label disappeared, you could still read the information. And this one here, this is a very wide-necked bottle. And the reason for the wide neck is because it didn't contain a powder or a liquid. It actually contained, don't know if you can see it on the bottom there, Vaseline. And across the top, the name of the company, which was Chesebrough Manufacturers Company. Chesebrough Manufacturing Company, Vaseline. So that was the benefit of being able to use something that they could make the mold, place the information, press the bottle, so you had something that was practical, that could be beautiful. So I think that, although it's very simple lines, has got its own elegance. And of course that's a lovely find because it still had the stopper in the top, but also you could place the information there. Right, I'm now going to ask you a question that is, so much history in the bottle. Wow, that label looks amazing. Yeah, that is one of our best ones, I think. Because to be honest, if we found one of them with a pristine label on, then obviously we wouldn't have found it in a dump. It would have been something that had come out of somebody's cupboard and gone straight into a museum. But that has stood the test of time. That came out of a dump, and I think it just looks gorgeous. There we go. So I'm going to ask you a question, and this is related to what I just mentioned about the versatility of glass. Right, I remembered to wind back up so I knew where I was going then. Okay folks, the melted bottles that we find have been at very high temperatures. But how hot would it have to be for glass to completely melt and liquefy? So we're not talking about just softening the glass like this. This probably was quite hot, but if you wanted liquefied glass, you wanted to melt completely, what would be the temperature range required? And I say range because glass is not a simple composite. It varies from item to item. So one glass can be different to another, but within which range would you liquefy glass? Would it be A, 600 to 800 degrees? Would it be B, 1000 to 2000 degrees? Or would it be C, 1400 to 1600 degrees centigrade? Go! What are you thinking? Yeah, okay. Oh, well. Yep, we got all three answers coming in. Oh, somebody's given me the temperature range rather than just a simple ABC. That's very good. Well done, Jen. I'll let you know if you were right in a moment. Lexi B says over 800 because I was trying to melt glass stringers a while back and they didn't melt, lol. There we go. So you know it's over 800, so you were discarding A as a possibility then, Lexi. You go in for either B or C. Yeah, I can see down below you've gone for the B. Right then. Well, we've got lots of answers in, and we've definitely got 3 correct answers. So I'll rail back up to the top, and let's have a look who's got the top prize on this one. Okay, well, I can tell you it was the hottest range. It was 1400 to 1600. So while Jen's not going to get on the leaderboard because they're not in the top 3, you were correct in putting 1400 to 1600 in longhand. But I am now looking for a C. And we've got to go down because we got a B, a B, a B. Oh, wow. You've done it again, Mr. Ed Creative. You are on a roll tonight. You're going gold, my boy. You're going gold. Yeah, it's all happening in Cardiff tonight. There'll be parties and fireworks tonight in Cardiff. Yes, Ed, you've got it. You went C. You went for the highest range. Oh, and another familiar name, Dan. Dan Fetters, you've got the silver on this turn. And then we got to go down, down, down. Oh, and another name we've seen tonight, Bonnie Tyler Fan 34, who was just ahead of 2 others that got it right because Bonnie Tyler Fan was one of 3 but got in first. Rachel and Rita come directly behind. So Bonnie Tyler Fan, you've got the bronze, and Dan, you've got the silver, and Ed, you got the gold. Yeah, it's between 1400 and 1600. But as I say, that's not the temperature that this will have gotten to, because this got to the point where it was pliable, which is totally different to it being liquid. So to get it liquid, you go in very, very high temperatures, between 1400 and 1600 degrees, which explains why you were struggling to melt that glass, Lexi. I don't think you'd have the capacity for getting things quite that hot unless you owned a pretty solid piece of kit. So there we go. Rightio. Let's have a look here. What's happening here? Some people were a bit confused by units, yeah, because of course lots of people work in Fahrenheit, lots of people work in centigrade. We used to be Fahrenheit and we switched to centigrade, so I always get confused when I'm looking up temperatures and they come up different. Yeah, you'll definitely need a hotter oven, Ed. You're not going to do that on your standard gas mark 6, 7 and 8, I don't think. Right, well, let's do a little bit of happy news. Okay, little bit of happy news for you tonight, folks. Wet washing day, 1 minute hero. The story has come from Australia of a Sikh's kindness that was caught on camera when he thought no one was looking. With the heavens having opened, the man, a postal worker, who had arrived at a house to deliver a package, took 1 minute to pull down the laundry and put it next to the door and out of the rain. When Variety, the homeowner from Logan, south of Brisbane, came home, she felt bewildered by the absence of her laundry. While travelling home in the storm, she imagined finding some of it perhaps wrapped around the line and maybe the odd piece scattered around the garden, but it was nowhere to be seen. I locked the car, headed down the stairs, and there on the bench, out of the rain, is sitting my parcel and my 99% dry washing. I headed in to check the surveillance system and saw what my postie had done. He's 1 in a million. This guy is so cool, she wrote on an Instagram post that went viral. Gurpreet Singh works for the Australian Post Office and seemed genuinely bewildered by the attention and focus on his good deed, which was now getting millions of hits. It only took me 1 minute, he said. And I thought that was a lovely story. Simple act of kindness that would have only been known by 2 people if it wasn't for our modern internet world, but now has raced through Instagram, not only around Australia, but also throughout India. They've been showing what this man did. And it was a very simple thing. As he said, he was bewildered because it only took a minute. And that's what I loved about that story. I thought sometimes we may think we've got to have an awful lot of time spare to be able to do something that would make a difference. But we can make a difference sometimes in just a minute. Just saying good morning to someone, a smile. I may have mentioned it before, but when my grandmother passed away, people were commenting about what a lovely lady and how encouraging she was. One of my grandmother's little things was, whenever my grandmother would go to church and would be sat in her seat, people would always come up to this elderly lady and say, "How are you, Mrs. Jones?" And her reply always was, "All the better for seeing you, my love," and smile. And the number of people who said that simple reply and her smile, how they'd gone on to be nice to her, but she'd encouraged them. And I hear this time and time again in my job, looking at people's life stories of all the little things people do. And that's what I thought with this, was when he turned around and said, "What's all the fuss about? It only took a minute." And I thought, what a lovely piece of happy news to share tonight, to encourage everyone that, you may not think you're doing much. And as I say, without the internet, this would have been a simple act done by a man who looked for no recognition, because if she hadn't had the security camera, she wouldn't have known who done it. So he didn't intend any recognition. He thought the most that would happen would be that the lady would work out from it being next to the parcel that maybe the postman had got it in for her, and she'd have thought, what a nice postman. As it is, millions of people are actually labelling him a hero for what he did. But I suppose it brings home to all of us the realisation that every one of us can make a difference in just a minute if we just take the time to offer a word of encouragement, lend someone a hand, see someone struggling to open a door and we open it for them. It's not a big deal, but it is for someone. And sometimes people, we don't know where they are. We don't know what they're going through. Nobody knows what's happening in your life or my life unless we let them know. But sometimes a simple act of kindness can give such a boost to somebody who perhaps is struggling and has not seen a lot of kindness in recent days. So I encourage you there and hope you enjoyed that little bit of happy news as well. Okay, what else have we got to have a look at here? Yeah. Yeah, Margaret. Without the internet, they'd have probably thought it was the fairies. I mentioned earlier that sometimes glass can be made, a regular shape that does the job. That did the job. Put Vaseline in it, good wide neck, you can get the Vaseline out. But then sometimes they would make the effort to make things pretty. There's pretty small things, like that. Because by making it faceted rather than round or square, it's just lent itself that little bit more. I would presume, the slope on the top of that, I love that. It's just sloping down. I would presume that was possibly cosmetic. Should we say cosmetic? Whether it contained perfume, nail varnish or whatever, I don't know. But because of the effort made to make it a pretty bottle, I would say possibly cosmetic. And I would say this much larger pretty bottle. See the shape on the neck there? The way they've shaped that there. And then this flask shape, flat front and back, so you can put a label on it. Now, I would guess, if I was asked, I would say alcohol for that size, because you're not going to have that big a bottle of perfume. Now, maybe someone can help me, because I haven't had time to research it today, but can you see that there? Does anybody recognize that? Possibly GB. See down the bottom there? Is that a recognizable brand to anybody? Because I'm guessing this spelled alcohol at some point. But perhaps somebody can give me a clue on that if you've seen that insignia somewhere. But as I say, large and small, people just made the effort, made the mould, shaped the glass and came out with something quite beautiful. Another thing we find from time to time, which is very practical and pretty, I think, are our ink bottles. And here's another two of the ink bottles that we have found. These are two we haven't shown before. I found them in the bag today, so I thought I'd bring them down. Pair of ink bottles, slightly different in height, but you can see if something works, then people tend to just go with it. And there were a lot of ink companies that decided that works. If you're going to pick up a bottle of ink, then having that shape, it does lend itself to whichever way you grab hold of it, you're holding on two flats. So I think that is pretty unpractical when it comes to a bottle of ink. When you grab hold of it and move it, because you don't want to be dropping your bottle of ink and tipping it all over the place and getting it all over your work. So with these, as soon as you take hold of it, whichever way, wherever you grab it from, you will always find yourself with your fingers on a flat to being able to do it. I've just had an error come up on my screen, so I hope everything is still going well for us. But just in case things go terribly wrong, I'm consumed booze, Ed. Now, Karen, I was thinking of brandy. With the B, I wondered if it was a particular brand of brandy. GB, good brandy from Lexi, so possibly CB, question mark. Dorothy's saying, I really appreciate the people who open doors for me. Yeah, it's a simple act. Doesn't take seconds, but I'm sure it can mean a lot to people when you just show a little bit of consideration. You know, at the moment there's a lot of debate going on in the world, and particularly in our country, about different things. And I love what one person said this week in the political field, and they said, first place to start is by realizing before you judge people in a category, remember we're all part of the same family, we're all human. And I thought that was a lovely thing to hear from a politician, that to start with the point, we're all human, let's work from there. If people have done wrong, we've got to deal with it. If people are out of order, we've got to put it right. If people need help, we've got to help them. But let's stop labelling people as this, that and the other and seeing them as human, which I thought was lovely. G&B Rye Whiskey. Radio, that sounds possible too. Is somebody who liked a nice bottle, I know that. Your sound is cutting out. I'm very sorry about that. Very sorry about that. Hopefully we'll make it to the end. Right. I tell you what. What are we doing on time here? Well, we've only got 3 minutes to go, so I'm going to jump straight to the most controversial question of all. In case our sound does go. Sound breaking up. Sound cutting out. Okay, what's happening here? Let's give it a go. How many places? Oh, hang on, we haven't had the question logo. Okay, folks. How many places? Now, Mankey and Panky appeared so many times in the show, but if they were in the same place, it counts as one. So how many places did you see Mankey in this week's video? Go! Let's have a look. See if anyone guesses the right number. I'll give you a clue. It's less than 7 and it's more than 2. Less than 7, more than 2. How many times did you see Mankey in this week's video? Beata, can you hear me? That's good. Oh. Beata can hear me, but she's no idea how many times he was there. Okay. Right, we've got 1 minute and we'll be finishing on time, which will be an absolute first for me to finish on time. But we did jump 2 questions to get there. But 1 minute, final answer. I can tell you, Mankey was there 4 times, right at the beginning in the shed, and then turned up alongside Panky dozens of times after that, but still in the same place. At 7:40 in my pocket at the dump, 8:13 in my pocket in the shed, and at 36 in my pocket as I climbed out of the hole there on the dump in Yorkshire. And the first correct answer in was Bonnie Tyler fan 34, who takes gold. Then Ed said, this is a guess I didn't count, and guessed 4. Well, guesses count you, mate, so you take the silver. And always good to see Ribble Finds and Craft on this particular question, and they've gone with the 4 as well. So there we go, and that was it. Good grief. There we go. We had 3 correct answers, and that was the correct answers. Very good. So at least we managed to get our first, second, and third. So we got Bonnie Tyler fan on gold, Ed on silver, and Ribble Finds and Crafts on the bronze. Well, thank you for being here, folks. Thank you for comments. Thank you for watching the video. I hope all is well with you all. I believe that there was a birthday somewhere down the West Country. I noticed in the chat yesterday. If I spotted that right, then happy birthday down there. 1 or 2 haven't been well around the world, and over in the other side of the world. Our thoughts are with you. Please take care. Don't forget, if you've got a minute, do something nice. I know you will, because you're such lovely people. So, this time, like every time, till the next time, have fun. Bye.